My name is Grace Soccer, and it is my pleasure to serve as Master of Ceremonies this morning as we officially engage the media ahead of the 2026 Zambia Capital Markets Conference and Awards. Please be upstanding as we sing the national anthem. Okay. Okay, we shall just start. We'll rely on our voices for this one, and hopefully we all know the lyrics. Okay. Standing sing of Zambia's right and free, land of work and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right, we won freedom's fight, all one, strong and free. What? Motherland, fashioned with and blessed by God's good hand. Let us all our peoples join as one, brothers under the sun, all one, strong and free. One nation is our cry. Unity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free. Praise be to praise thee. Bless our great nation, Zambia, Zambia. Free may we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, praise to thee, O one, strong and free. Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. And well done. All right, so allow me before we proceed to recognize our high table, Mr. Nicholas Kawaso, Chief Executive Officer, Lusaka Securities Exchange, Mr. Mubanga Kwandolo, Assistant Director, Market Development and Projects, Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Elijah Kawaso, President, Capital Markets Association of Zambia, Mr. Joseph Alexander Jalasi Jr., Member of the Judging Committee, Ms. Tamara Buku, Member of the Judging Committee, Mr. Jeffrey Suluzia, Member of the Judging Committee, our esteemed sponsors and partners joining us this morning, and of course our media partners, without whom this conversation would not reach the Zambian public. And to all of you, good morning. Thank you for making the time to be with us today. This morning's briefing brings together the Lusaka Securities Exchange, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Capital Markets Association of Zambia as we prepare to host the second edition of the Zambia Capital Markets Conference and Awards under the theme Capital Markets 2030, Mobilizing Investment for Economic Transformation and Sustainable Growth. Over the program, you will hear from our regulators, our industry association, our sponsors, and the LuSE team on what to expect from this year's conference and why it matters for Zambia's capital markets and its economy at large. Without further delay, let us begin. And to kick us off, it is now my honor to invite the Chief Executive Officer of the Lusaka Securities Exchange, Mr. Nicholas Kawaso, to give the opening and welcome remarks and to share with us an overview of the 2026 CMAZ and the purpose of this morning's briefing. Mr. Kawaso, over to you.
morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. May I just simply ride on the already stated protocol that Master Ceremonies. And may I just begin by stating just good morning and to all of us as distinguished guests, members of the media, colleagues, partners, and friends of Zambia's capital. It's good to be together, It's good to be together in this room on this particular day, obviously coming through from a very exciting, last week when all of us had to participate in our civic rights to vote, and obviously peacefully we transitioned into the next 5 years of the new president. And obviously we want to acknowledge the fact that we demonstrated something that is quite very remarkable across the region, that Zambia can truly be very peaceful. And even as we begin today, we just want to be able to, recognize that fact. And hopefully, as we get into the rest of the proceedings of our event today, we may continue to just signal to the world just what Zambia stands for, because that truly is a mark of investor confidence that we hope we can then be able to leverage on even as a market going forward. So with that said, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the official flag-off of the 2026 Zambia Capital Markets Conference and Awards, which will take place from the 30th September to the 2nd October at Avani Victoria Falls Resort in Livingstone. Now, this is the second edition of the Zambia Capital Markets Conference and Awards, and I'm particularly pleased that what began as an initiative to bring the market together has now become an important platform for dialogue, collaboration, and action. This year, we will convene under the theme Capital Markets 2030, Mobilizing Investment for Economic Transformation and Sustainable Growth. We are deliberately looking beyond where we are as capital markets today, and obviously looking at what we can then be able to achieve going forward. That being the case, we are asking one important question as a market. What must we do differently between now and 2030 to make our capital markets a much stronger engine of Zambia's economic transformation? Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the opportunity before us is significant. Zambia needs capital to finance businesses, infrastructure, innovation, and sustainable development. Our entrepreneurs need access to long-term finance. Our pension funds and institutional investors need attractive investment opportunities. Government needs deeper domestic capital markets, and obviously to support our economic development agenda. And ordinary citizens like you and me need opportunities to participate meaningfully in wealth creation in this wonderful country called Zambia. Therefore, a deeper, more efficient, and more inclusive capital market can help all of us connect all these different pieces together. But markets do not develop by themselves. They require deliberate action, innovation, appropriate regulation, investor confidence, and importantly, collaboration among all stakeholders. This conference will therefore bring together policymakers, regulators, issuers, investors, financial institutions, development partners, practitioners, and other stakeholders to have frank conversations about what needs to change. We will discuss the future of sustainable finance, the opportunities presented by technology and tokenization, the development of collective investment schemes in Zambia, the role of the diaspora, the future of listings and market liquidity, and how all of us we can work together to mobilize more domestic and international capital into productive investments. We will also challenge ourselves on what Zambia must do to ensure that our capital markets are not simply observers of economic transformation, but they are active financiers of it. And of course, the conference will culminate in the 2026 Capital Markets Awards, where we will recognize institutions and individuals who are contributing to the growth, innovation, integrity, and development of our capital markets. Recognition is important because it celebrates excellence, but it also sets a very useful standard for what we want to see in our market going forward. I would therefore like to use this opportunity to invite the entire capital markets community, the business community, policymakers, investors, media to join us in Livingstone. Come not only to attend the conference, but to shape the conversation, challenge conventional thinking, build partnerships, and help define capital markets that we want to get to see beyond not only today, but all the way up to 2030. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, for us as Lusaka Securities Exchange, this conference is not simply another event on the calendar, it is part of our mandate. LuSE is a market builder, not just a market operator. And we continue to demonstrate this to the accolades of the now 4 billion, 4 different unicorns that we have been able to deliver in the last few months. We now have CEC, we have ZCMCA, which was Zambia Sugar, and we also have Airtel as our unique, large, capitalized stocks that we have on our market. For us as an exchange, we truly pride in some of these deliveries because we can clearly attest the fact that we're just not operating as a market, but we're building our capital markets here in Zambia. Some of these unique names that I've just highlighted are in this room, obviously, as part of our sponsors and partners for this particular conference, and we thank them for being with us today. We believe that as an exchange, we must do more than just provide a platform where securities are bought and sold. We must help build the market around that platform. We also must bring issuers, investors, policymakers, regulators, intermediaries, and other stakeholders together. And we ask the question when we do that, what must we do differently to make our capital markets deeper, more liquid, more innovative, and more inclusive? That is what this particular conference, as we are meeting today for, is going to be able to achieve. It is a contribution to shaping Zambia's capital markets, not only today, but even for tomorrow. Therefore, on behalf of the Lusaka Securities Exchange and the Capital Markets Association of Zambia, I would like to thank our partners, sponsors, regulators, speakers, exhibitors, media partners, and everyone who has contributed to making today's event also successful, and as we look forward to September, making that particular event also a success. So today, we officially flag off the journey to Livingstone. From 30th September to 2nd October, the capital markets community will come together in one place. The conversation is Capital Markets 2030. The ambition is economic transformation. And the opportunity is here in Zambia. I look forward to seeing all of us in this room, plus many more that are always going to be hearing about this event after. Thank you very much for taking your time to be with us. And let me end by simply saying the journey to Capital Markets 2030 begins today, and let's be able to spread the word to all of our acquaintances, our associates, and our business colleagues. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kawaso, for that insightful overview and for setting the tone for this morning's engagement. We now turn to our regulator. I'd like to invite Mr. Mubanga Kondolo, Assistant Director for Market Development and Projects at the Securities and Exchange Commission, to share the Commission's remarks. Mr. Kondolo, you may make your way to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. It's an exciting time that we're having a subsequent conference further to the inaugural, and I think it's a positive step in the right direction. I will be making these remarks on behalf of my CEO, Mr. Philip Chitalo, who is attending to some other conflicting programs. The Chief Executive Officer of the Lusaka Securities Exchange, Mr. Nicholas Kabaso, the President of the Capital Markets Association of Zambia, Mr. Elijah Kabaso, captains of capital markets industry presidents and others alike, market participants present, ZCMAH, CEC, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a pleasure to join you this morning as we officially flag off the journey towards the 2026 Zambia Capital Markets Conference and Awards. Let me begin by commending the Lusaka Securities Exchange and the Capital Markets Association of Zambia for convening this important platform and for bringing together stakeholders to reflect on the development and future direction of our capital markets. The theme for this year's conference, Capital Markets 2030, Mobilizing Investment for Economic Transformation and Sustainable Growth, is both timely and significant. But beyond this, I think it also speaks to our national development aspirations. It is aligned with the Vision 2030 and the 8th National Development Plan and consistent with the objectives to make our country a prosperous middle-income nation by 2030. It also speaks directly to the question of how capital markets can contribute more meaningfully to Zambia's economic transformation in that regard. We all know that capital markets are an important part of the financial system because they provide the mechanisms through which savings can be mobilized and channeled towards productive investments. They provide businesses and other entities with opportunities to raise capital while providing investors with avenues to invest and participate in economic activity. We have over 1.5 million investors. In 2020, we had just slightly over 50,000 investors, but there is still need to do more in that space because we have seen that there is a big interest for people to participate in our economy through the capital markets. And I think as custodians of these markets, we have the responsibility to drive that progress. For Zambia, the development of a strong and effective capital markets is not an end in itself. It is an important part of our broader economic development agenda. And as we look towards 2030, we must ask ourselves what kind of capital markets do we want to build? And more importantly, what role do we expect that the market will play in transforming our economy? Ladies and gentlemen, we should aspire to have capital markets that are deeper, more diverse, more accessible, and more responsive to the financing needs of our economy. And we have a blueprint that will help us attain these aspirations. Our 10-year long-term plan for capital markets development, the Capital Markets Master Plan. We need markets that can effectively mobilize long-term capital for productive investment, support business growth, facilitate infrastructure development, and provide opportunities for citizens to participate in the growth of the economy. We must also continue to broaden participation because the strong capital markets should not be viewed as a preserve of a limited number of investors and large corporates. This speaks to the misperceptions of capital markets that they are only for the rich. But I think that is not the case. We have the CMAZ here to attest to it that we have collective investment schemes, for instance, that enable broader participation of the ordinary Zambian. We must also continue to create greater awareness and understanding of investment opportunities so that more Zambians can participate meaningfully and make informed investment decisions. At the same time, we must encourage more businesses to view the capital markets as a viable source of finance. This requires us to continue addressing the barriers that may prevent potential issuers from accessing the market while maintaining the standards necessary to protect investors and preserve confidence in the market. And as the SEC, our responsibility is to contribute to the development of a capital market that is fair, transparent, efficient, and capable of supporting sustainable economic activity. This means maintaining a conducive regulatory environment that protects investors and promotes market integrity, while also fostering innovation and market development. The capital markets of 2030 will not necessarily look like the capital markets of today. Technology is changing how financial services are delivered. Investors are becoming more connected, and newer products and channels of accessing financial services continue to emerge. These developments present opportunities, but they also require us to remain responsive to emerging risks. Our objective must therefore to be create an environment where innovation can develop responsibly while ensuring that investor protection and market integrity remain at the center of our regulatory approach. However, regulation alone cannot deliver the capital markets we want. The development of the market requires collaboration. The regulator, the exchange, market intermediaries, issuers, investors, professional bodies, government, development partners, the media, and other stakeholders all have a role to play. This is why platforms such as the Zambia Markets Conference and Awards are important. To complement that, we also understand that a strong capital markets requires professionals that are capacitated. And in doing so, we have deliberate commitments to establish the Capital Markets Institute. And we see that as a cornerstone of bridging the gap between knowledge and participation, and also one that the media fraternity can take advantage of in being able to report on capital markets issues, disseminate capital markets information, and beyond that, foster participation within our markets. Because the media will be speaking from an informed decision, and the public will be able to consume that information which will be shared. The media has an important role in this process. We therefore welcome the opportunity to engage with the media as we begin the journey towards the ZCMCA 2026. As we flag off this year's conference, I would encourage stakeholders to approach the ZCMCA 2026 not simply as an annual event, but as an opportunity to begin a broader conversation about the future of Zambia's capital markets. The question before us is not simply where capital markets are today, it is where do we want them to be by 2030, and what must we do today to get there. That conversation requires ambition, collaboration, and a willingness to translate ideas into action. The SEC remains committed to working with all stakeholders towards the development of a capital market that can mobilize investment, support economic transformation, and contribute to sustainable and inclusive growth. I wish the Lusaka Securities Exchange, the Capital Markets Association of Zambia, and all partners every success as we commence the journey towards the 2026 Zambia Capital Markets Conference and Awards. I look forward to the discussions, ideas, and partnerships that will emerge from this year's program. With these few words, I thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kondola, for those remarks delivered on behalf of the Chief Executive Officer for the Securities and Exchange Commission. And thank you to the Commission for their continued oversight and support of Zambia's capital markets. Next, I'd like to invite the President of the Capital Markets Association of Zambia, Mr. Elijah Kawaso, to the podium to share his thoughts. Mr. Kawaso, you can come through.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Lusaka Securities Exchange, Mr. Nicholas Kabaso, the Chief Executive Officer of the Securities and Exchange Commission of Zambia, Mr. Philip Chitalu, hereby represented by Mr. Mubanga Kandolo, the Chairperson of the Judging Panel, Mr. Joseph Jalasi, our esteemed sponsors, partners, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. That's much better. Okay. It is a great honor to address you this morning at the launch of the Zambia Capital Markets Conference and Awards 2026. Allow me to begin by thanking our co-hosts, the Lusaka Securities Exchange and the Securities Exchange Commission for their continued partnership. I also wish to acknowledge our sponsors, industry participants, and members of the media for joining us today. Your presence demonstrates a shared commitment to strengthening Zambia's capital markets. This year's conference will be held from 30th September to 2nd October 2026 under the theme, Capital Markets 2030, Mobilizing Investment for Economic Transformation and Sustainable Growth. This is more than just a conference theme, it is a call to action. If Zambia is to achieve sustainable economic growth, create quality jobs, finance infrastructure, and build global competitive businesses, then our capital markets must play a much larger role in mobilizing long-term investment. However, no single institution can achieve this alone. That is why, on behalf of CMAZ today, I want to focus on one key message for this morning. The future of Zambia's capital markets depends on collaboration. Capital markets are ecosystems. An ecosystem only succeeds when every participant participates and performs their role effectively and works together towards a common objective. Regulators create confidence, as the SEC do. The exchange, who's the LuSE here, create the marketplace. Stockbrokers, I've seen a number of them in here, Pangea stockbrokers and a number of firms. They connect investors to opportunities. Fund managers allocate capital efficiently. Investment advisors guide investors. Custodians safeguard those investments. Listed companies provide the opportunities for people to be able to achieve returns. Pension funds and insurance companies provide patient capital. Government provides an enabling policy environment. The media educates the investing public. Every one of us here today has a role to play. When we work together, our impact is not limited. When we work together, we deepen markets, increase investor confidence, and unlock economic growth. That is exactly why Zambia Capital Markets Conference and Awards exists. It is not merely another annual event. It is one platform where regulators, market operators, intermediaries, issuers, investors, development partners, policymakers, and academia come together to discuss the future of our market and identify practical solutions to the challenges before us. The conference is intended to foster stronger collaboration among regulators, intermediaries, and all market players within our ecosystem. As CMAZ, we believe collaboration must move beyond conferences. It must translate into more innovative and investment products. It must lead to better investor education. It must create greater financial inclusion, stronger market professionalism, improved liquidity, more companies accessing capital through the market, and more partnerships between the public and private sectors. These are the conversations we want at the conference that will be stimulated. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's conference will also celebrate excellence through the Zambia Capital Markets Awards. Recognition does matter. When we celebrate institutions and individuals that demonstrate innovation, integrity, and outstanding performance, we encourage higher standards across the entire industry. Equally important is the role of our sponsors. Their commitment demonstrates confidence in Zambia's financial sector and in the future of our capital markets. On behalf of CMAZ, I sincerely thank each sponsor for partnering with us in advancing this important national platform. And perhaps we could just give them a round of applause. To the members of the media, today is as much about you as it is about us. Public participation in capital markets begins with awareness, and information reaches the public through responsible journalism. Your reporting has the power to demystify capital markets, educate investors, inspire entrepreneurs to consider raising capital, and encourage more Zambians to participate in formal investment opportunities. One of the objectives of this briefing is to strengthen accurate, consistent, and informed reporting that enhances public understanding, investor confidence, and broader market participation. We therefore ask for your continued partnerships, members of the media, not simply in reporting on the conference, but in telling the broader story of how capital markets contribute to national development. Ladies and gentlemen, as we look towards 2030, our ambition should not simply be to have a bigger capital market. Our ambition should be to build a more inclusive, innovative, trusted, and globally competitive capital market, one that mobilizes domestic and international savings into productive investment and delivers prosperity for all Zambians. That ambition requires leadership, it requires partnership. Most importantly, it requires collective action. At CMAZ, we remain committed to working hand in hand with the SEC, with the LuSE, with government, our members, and all our stakeholders to deepen Zambia's capital markets and position them as a key engine of economic transformation. I invite every institution represented here today to join us in that journey. Together, we can build stronger markets, and together we can help shape a more prosperous Zambia. I thank you. May God bless you all, and may God bless the Republic of Zambia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kawaso, for reminding us just how important collaboration amongst market participants is the key. Of September to the 2nd of October 2026 at Avani Victoria Falls Resort, Livingstone. We're also grateful to the sponsors who have quickly answered to the call when we reached out, and would like to thank you for partnering with the LuSE, the SEC, and the Capital Markets Association of Zambia. In no particular order, would like to thank some of those who are present today: Zambia Sugar PLC, Copperbelt Energy Corporation PLC, ZCCM Investment Holdings, also known as ZCCMIH, .com Zambia, Prudential Pensions Management Zambia, also known as PPMZ, Real Estate Investment Zambia, also known as REIZ, Clapton Reinsurance, and Zanaco. Thank you for answering the call, and we look forward to onboarding more as we proceed with the planning. Allow me to also unveil the 2026 theme for our Zambia capital markets, which is Capital Markets 2030, Mobilizing Investment for Economic Transformation and Sustainable Growth. This is central to the LuSE's own mandate, which is growing and deepening Zambia's capital markets so that it can mobilize meaningful investment for the economy through new listings across sectors, expanded investor education, stronger market infrastructure, and the kind of partnerships with regulators, industry, and sponsors that make an active, trusted market possible. Some of the key elements of our theme also speak towards economic diversification and industrialization. A deep and well-functioning capital market requires these. These are essential for channeling both domestic and international investment into productive sectors, financing infrastructure and enterprise, and giving ordinary Zambians a stake in the country's growth through wider participation in listed companies. Growth must also be sustainable as well as inclusive. The theme is a reminder that capital markets should mobilize investment in a way that is long-term and resilient, not just short-term or extractive. Allow me also to announce the members of the judging committee. As the name suggests, there are awards that I handed out during this weekend. Members of the judging committee are as follows: Ambassador Mumba S. Kapumpa, State Counsel; Mr. Joseph Alexander Jalasi Jr., Ms. Rebecca Hichilo Silolesia, Mr. Geoffrey Silvizia, and Ms. Tamara Buku. And now we get to the most exciting part of our capital markets activities. We have, I would call it a ceremonial ring of the bell that is done. Generally, this is done to signify an important moment in the market. Historically, it was done to mark the opening and the closing of trading, but today we are going to ring it in a symbolic gesture to signal to the market that ZCMA 2026 has officially been flagged off. Members of the high table, if you could assist me to line up over here, and we will have our moment. As members of the audience, you are not left out. You also have a very important role to play. I will count down from 3. You may align yourselves. And I think just for the sake of protocol, Mr. Kawaso, I'll ask you to lead the charge in ringing the bell. All right, so is everybody ready? So I'll count down from 3. When I reach 1, Mr. Kawaso, ring it as hard as you can. We will clap until Mr. Kawaso gets tired. So don't stop clapping until the bell stops ringing. And we need to send a very loud and clear message to the market. ZCMA 2026 has been flagged off. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Has been flagged off. Please allow me at this stage to call to the podium a member of our judging committee, Mr. Joseph Alexander Jalasi Jr., to deliver his remarks.
Thank you. Thank you. Allow me to ride on the protocols that have already been referred to by my colleagues. I would like to thank you most sincerely to the committee for having entrusted us and my colleagues to be part of the members of the panel that will adjudicate this year's awards. I think as has been announced, and maybe those who didn't hear, the judging panel is being led by State Counsel Mr. Mumbaka Pumpa, who couldn't be here. I'm sure he wouldn't miss. He's got a natural court wig, but he's not here. He's traveled, but we look forward to seeing him. Of course, the members of the panel that are here, maybe if I can allow them to stand, Mr. Jeff Silvizia, Ms. Tamara Buku. So Rebecca is also supposed to be here, Silozi, but she has traveled, unfortunately. But we look forward to seeing her in Livingstone. I think I am incredibly proud to have been asked to be on the panel. And so too, I believe I speak on behalf of my colleagues. And we take this duty, I think, with the solemn duty that it is and the sanctity that it deserves to be a judge to award awards of such a big and important nature. I think, as CEO, you said, recognition matters. And I think Mr. Kondolo also just said on behalf of CEA for SEC that recognition matters. And why does it matter? It matters because it introduces an element of participants in the capital markets to be able to aspire to get these awards. So it is important for the awards and the integrity that us as panels, first of all, the composition is carefully chosen, and it goes and brings about people with integrity that will give the awards the highest honor that is there. Because once you induce into the awards confidence in the players in the capital markets, then those players now aspire, because these are credible, and people would be happy to put that they won X award on their branding. And of course, it makes SEC happy, it makes LuSE happy, it makes as a country in terms of the capital markets players that that the market is becoming mature. So we do not take this duty, and we will intend to discharge our duty with all the integrity. And allow me to say that recognition encourages excellence. It celebrates innovation, reinforces good governance, professional standards, and also reminds us, most importantly, that those working within the industry, that their efforts are seen and appreciated. I think that's very important that that appreciation is shown. The awards should therefore not be simply about receiving a trophy or an accolade. They should be about recognizing the values and achievements we want to see replicated across capital markets. This is where the panel of judges has the important and weighty responsibility that we have to deliver. We've been in a week of credibility, so we also have to have the duty of delivering credible awards. We do not want our credibility to be questioned, because then that goes to the legitimacy of the awards. So I think it's very important that we are not only perceived to be impartial, but actually be seen and have those awards delivered to the most deserving players and companies in the capital market. So we will, again, to ensure that the awards are credible and meaningful, we will also approach the process, and I can assure you, colleagues who are here, and those that will get to know get the message through the various media houses that are here, that will approach the process with independence, objectivity, and fairness. Our responsibility will be to assess the nominees against established criteria and to recognize a genuine achievement based on merit. And I can assure you, our colleagues who are here, the processes, and as we go to Livingstone, it will not be a question that we'll wake up in Livingstone and with Mr. Silvisia and Ms. Buku and Mr. Kapumpa and Rebecca and just say, look, who's won, etc. There is a rigorous process before, just to assure, before we'll go through, understand the criteria as judges, internalize it, that procedure, so that the respective categories, we are able to deliver credible and genuine results. We'll look at the substance behind the nomination, the contributions made, the impact achieved, the quality of leadership, innovation, governance, and professionalism. Okay, maybe I can repeat that. I think I need to, the criteria is important. Okay, so we will look at the contribution made, the impact achieved, the quality of leadership, innovation, governance, and professionalism, and the extent to which the nominees have contributed to strengthening and advancing the capital market. I think that's very important that that criteria is understood. that I think it's beyond the ticket size and how big, but the innovation and the contribution and the impact. Since, as CEO has said, we are encouraged to grow, so innovation becomes critical. So the credibility of any award program rests on the integrity of the judges and its judging process. We therefore recognize that the responsibility entrusted to us extends beyond electing the winners. It is also about ensuring that when an individual or institution is recognized, that recognition carries the weight and commands respect. And I think that is very critical to us. Once we are able to deliver that and it goes to the market, yes, of course, there will be a bit of discontent, but we should ensure that the discontent is kept to a bare minimum so that we are able to achieve results which everybody resoundingly be able, from a legitimate perspective, and agree that these awards were done through a credible process. The best particular nominee succeeded. So with that said, I would like to just assure everyone and thank my fellow judges for accepting the challenge. We look forward to seeing you in Livingstone, and we look forward to looking at the nominees who ultimately win, and that even the losers will smile at the judges and say, we've delivered a genuine and credible award selection. With those few words, I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jalasi, for those remarks and for the integrity that your judging committee brings to this year's awards. We now move to a segment that we always look forward to, hearing directly from our sponsors on why they continue to invest in Zambia's capital markets. I would like to invite Ms. Mwenya Chela from Zambia Sugar to share her remarks, and I'll guide accordingly with regards to the check handover after all the remarks have been done.
Good morning to you all, and all protocols observed. Zambia Sugar is pleased to be part of the Zambia Capital Markets Conference Awards for 2026. We are proud to be a listed company on the Lusaka Securities Exchange and continue to see the benefits of being listed. As a company with over $1 billion in the market capitalization, we are a reflection of the growth of the Zambian capital markets over the period of time. It also democratizes ownership, allowing for anyone to be the owners of wealth regardless of background. Zambia Sugar is pleased to be part of such wealth creation stories. Therefore, the conference and awards ceremony continue to be an important fixture in our annual calendar because it serves as a platform to showcase the benefits of being a listed entity. This year, we are proud to be yet again a sponsor of the event and look forward to the great conference and awards ceremony. We hope our support will go a long way in supporting the organizers as they prepare for this event. We look forward to seeing you all there soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Zambia Sugar, for your continued belief in this platform. Next, I invite Ms. Verona Mwina, Corporate Affairs Manager at Copperbelt Energy Corporation, PLC, to share a few remarks on behalf of the organization.
Good morning. Allow me to write on the protocols already observed. Firstly, I would like to congratulate the LuSE for bringing us together as capital market participants for the second Capital Markets Awards and Conference. Congratulations to you. We were privileged to be a part of the awards last year, and we pledged our continued support towards this event. So this year we're proud to announce that we are supporting the Capital Markets Conference as a platinum sponsor this year. And our support towards the Capital Markets Awards and Conference is a way of supporting the enhancement of the attraction of our capital markets and supporting the LuSE maintaining its position as #1 in Africa and the 2nd in the world. I think that's something that we ought to be proud of as a country and as participants in the capital market. It's also an expression of our pride in being part of a forward-looking capital markets, a capital market, which is the home for 4 listed companies that are, whose market capitalization rather exceeds $1 billion. I think there was a time where in Southern Africa you couldn't find companies that had attained this. And I think it's the work of the LuSE and it's the work that we all do. I think it was mentioned by the Capital Markets Association that it's about collaboration. And when we come together, these are some of the results that we can achieve for our capital markets. Ladies and gentlemen, our capital markets obviously remain an important platform for capital raising. So as the CEC, we're very excited about the upcoming capital markets. We look forward to the engagements that will take place there, and we truly believe that these engagements will advance the transformation of our markets. We thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mwila, and thank you to CEC PLC for standing with us once again this year. I now invite Ms. Loisa Mbata, Corporate Affairs Manager at ZCCM, to share her remarks.
Good morning, all. Allow me to write on the protocol established earlier by the previous speakers, distinguished guests, colleagues from the capital markets fraternity, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure on behalf of ZCCM Investment Holdings as a proud sponsor of this year's Zambia Capital Markets Conference and Awards, and to join the Lusaka Securities Exchange and the Capital Markets Association of Zambia as we officially flag off the journey to the ZCMCA 2026. ZCCMIH's contribution of 350,000 kwacha to this conference reflects more than a line item in our budget. It is a statement of confidence in Zambia's capital markets, in the institutions that make them work, and the professionals in this room who move capital toward productive use every day. We do this because we believe deeply in what this conference represents. A capital market is only as strong as the trust placed in it by local investors, by international investors, and by everyday Zambian who increasingly sees capital markets as a route to participate in the country's growth story. As Zambia's sovereign anchored mining and energy investment holding company, listed on the Lusaka Securities Exchange, of course, as a primary listing, and the London Stock Exchange, and Euronext access in Paris, ZCCMIH sits at a unique intersection. We are both a product of Zambia's capital markets history and an active participant in its future. We understand perhaps more than most what it means to be held accountable to shareholders across 3 continents and to compete for investor attention in a crowded global market for critical minerals. Ladies and gentlemen, in August 2025, ZCCMI surpassed the $1 billion market capitalization threshold, a milestone we read as a vote of confidence, not only in our assets, but in the market infrastructure that allows confidence to be expressed and traded. That is why platforms like this one matter, that the conference that will come up in September. A deep, liquid, well-governed capital market is not a luxury for economies like ours. It is infrastructure as essential as the roads and power lines that move our copper and cobalt to the market. Every listing, every bond issuers, every fund mobilized on the LuSE strengthens Zambia's ability to finance its own development on its own terms. This conference and the awards that recognize excellence within our market help set the standard the rest of us aspire to. We are pleased to stand behind that effort, and we look forward to the conference itself, to the conversations it would generate, and to celebrating the achievements of Zambia's capital markets community when we gather next month. On behalf of ZCMIH, I congratulate LuSE, the SEC, the capital markets players, and thank our fellow sponsors as well, and wish this year's flag off and everything it sets in motion every success. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mbata, and thank you to ZCCM for your valued sponsorship and confidence in this initiative. At this point, I'd like to invite the high table, the dignitaries, if you could assist with the next part of our program, which is the check handover. I will guide in terms of which sponsor will go first. So if the high table could please assemble. And to assist in this process, we have the very able Ms. Sherry Maponga, part of the LuSE team. She's not a stranger to us, to assist in the handover checks. So if I could request Ms. Mwenya Chela from Zambia Sugar, you may stand closer this side, and Sherry, you may assist with the handover as we unveil Zambia Sugar as our platinum sponsor for ZCMA. Please give them a round of applause. Please, another round of applause for our platinum sponsor, Zambia Sugar. Thank you once again. Okay, next I'd like to call Ms. Verona Mwila from Copperbelt Energy Corporation to present their check as well. And we have Copperbelt Energy coming in as a platinum sponsor as well. Please, another round of applause. Another round of applause for our platinum sponsor. I'd like to call upon Ms. Louisa Mbata from ZCCMIH. ZCCMIH is coming in as our gold sponsor. And another round of applause for our gold sponsor. Thank you. And this concludes the part of the segment for the check handovers. The high table, you may take your seats as we move to the next portion of our program. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, after having heard from our regulator, our industry association, and our valued sponsors, we now move into a segment that I know our members of the press have been waiting for. We now open up the opportunity for members of the press to engage directly with our dignitaries on 2026 ZCMA. Please raise your hand and we will assist with the microphone for you to ask your question. As you ask your questions, kindly state your name and the media house you represent before you ask your question. And we will take it in rounds of 3. So media team, if we could assist, I see one hand there with a microphone. Just behind me. Okay, I see one hand in the middle there. You may go ahead.
Good morning, everyone, and congratulations again. I'm Daisy Mlenga from ZNBC. I have 2 questions, but one is the most important. I just want to find out, can we expect journalists to also be part of those that are going to be awarded this year? That's the most important one. And then the second question is, with collaboration being central to 2030, I just want to find out what specific actions are expected from us as media to help deepen public understanding and participation in Zambia's capital markets. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Daisy, is that question directed to one particular panelist, or can they? Okay. Okay, we've got 2 questions. I said I'll take a round of 3. Is there anyone else who'd like to ask? Okay, we can start with those 2.
So I'll start with answering the first part, which I think is the easy one. So will there be any journalists that are going to be awarded? Yes, there will be. There is a category for Financial Report of the Year. So we'll definitely be able to provide those particular awards. So what we just possibly need to get to find out from the team around the room is just how you can get your name, among those that are going to be nominated. But be rest assured, I think just like the team had already alluded to, the fourth estate is quite very central to our discussion. We will not be able to have this information being cascaded if we do not have the fourth estate with us. And that's the reason why we've taken it upon ourselves. We must be able to recognize journalists that are doing quite a good job. And if you have to go back to what we did last year, we have got very notable names that were awarded. So we hope this time around, Daisy Mlenga from ZNBC becomes the next individual that we're going to be awarding. But be rest assured that award is there. With respect to the last question, what do we expect from the media when it comes to information dissemination and even the output of this particular conference? I must be able to start by stating that we need your active voice with respect to getting the information out. One thing that we have obviously noticed in the market is that there's a lot of lack of information, and there's also a lot of unfiltered information coming through from the markets, which we expect you, the journalists, to be able to interrogate. I'll give you a case in point. We oftentimes release from the LuSE's point of view media results for listed companies in terms of the financials. What we anticipate or we expect you to be able to start doing even after the conference is for you to start interrogating those financials. Now, why do we want you to interrogate those financials? It's for obvious reasons. Someone out there who is reading those financials may not be privileged enough to be able to understand. But you have got a very important platform. You are able to ask me, you are able to ask the listed companies what exactly is transpiring in their financials and what's their strategy, and then you are able to cascade that. If you have to look specifically at the conference, we've got a very bold theme, 2030 capital markets. Again, there are very specific mentions of what exactly do we need to change, going forward as a capital markets. Again, we need your voice to be able to let us to ramp up that message to everyone else. If people are not going to hear what happened in that, in that conference hall, then we did not achieve what we intended to achieve as a conference. So we still need you to be quite very active in ramping up, the conversations. And I think you're a better place to be able to, try to break down that information to the most basic level to allow your audience to be able to understand. And you know it best. And that's the reason why you're in the room and you're counting on your 100% support to help us to be able to get ourselves to everyone else who will not be able to make it to Livingstone. I think that's what I can be able to say on those two questions, unless my colleagues across the table wish to add. Thanks.
If I may just add a few remarks. So yes, I think there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of reporting. As we said, it should be more accurate and more intentional. So it shouldn't go beyond, it should go beyond the usual. And there's no question that should be too tough to be asked. Sometimes they might seem unpopular, but I think it's important for people to be able to talk about such things. So if you could then amplify the voice around certain themes and the likes, that would be very appreciated. But furthermore, beyond the conference, is it something that the news houses around the country are able to adopt as a key theme to talk about, even in their, all their segments in terms of reporting? So that's something that we want to promote just beyond the conference and ensure that these conversations are conversations that are had even more often beyond such events being hosted. This is just an event to amplify that there are such matters that need to be discussed, but furthermore, it should be the norm of the market to try and talk about capital markets and how they can help ensuring that our economy is growing in Zambia. I hope that addresses your question. Thank you. Yeah, so we have the SEC as well.
Thank you. I think the media plays a vital role in disseminating information locally, but also beyond our borders. And I think this conference presents an opportunity to market our country. We want to be a preferred destination for investments. And I think the media can harness this occasion to do just that, to report positively on some of the good things that will be shared so that we can communicate and spread that confidence that we need as a country to attract the capital that we want. Thought I should just add that to you.
Okay, thank you very much for your responses. I hope that's answered your question, Ms. Daisy. Okay, we have time for one more question. Is there anyone who would like to ask a question to the panelists? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shilika Chabalengula from Zanis. I just want to find out from the Securities Exchange Commission. You mentioned of coming up with the Capital Markets Institute. When is it going to be operational and who will it target?
Okay, maybe we can take one more question and we'll take that as the final question for this round, if there are any. Okay, thank you. Mr. Kondolo, you may proceed.
Thank you. Very important question. So just to give, I think, a background to the establishment of the Capital Markets Institute, it's in line with the Capital Markets Master Plan, which obviously aspires to enhance capacity across the capital markets. And it primarily targets any individuals or professionals whose work borders around capital markets. So it is, in essence, targeting the media, professionals like legal professionals, auditors, accountants, potential investors, either retail level, institutional investors. So it's quite cross-cutting. There's no specific target group. And the establishment has already started. It was flagged off earlier in the year. And we anticipate that it will be launched before the end of next year. We're already ahead of schedule, and we are confident that we'll be able to flag it before the end of next year. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. I think we see the questions coming from the media houses to the high table, and I think it's, from my perspective, I would like to pose a question to the media, and it probably rides off my colleague here from the Securities and Exchange Commission. Is there anything in particular that media houses would like to see coming from market operators that will assist in the way that you're able to report and deliver on the stories that are developing in our industry? Anybody can respond to that from the media. Thank you.
Good morning again. So I'm of particular interest in this. I think my media colleagues will agree with me to say the easiest way for us to do our job is making it easy for us to access information. Now, I do know that we do have something in the courts which says we have access to information, but then organizations do make it quite difficult. Sometimes it could be bureaucracy. This individual has to find out from another individual. So maybe if you can relax issues of us getting access, it doesn't necessarily have to be a CEO to speak to us. So for us, personally, that's the only challenge I get to face. We give up most of the times if we're not getting feedback, because news is quite an emergency. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for all your questions and contributions this morning. They reflect exactly the kind of engaged, informed coverage that we hope to see around this year's conference, as well as the capital markets in general. So as we draw to the end of our briefing this morning, please allow me once again to thank Mr. Nicholas Kawaso and the LuSE team who have been on hand with this event, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Capital Markets Association of Zambia, the chairperson in absentia, and the members of the judging committee, our sponsors, who I'd like to read out once again, just to appreciate them for their support for ZCMA 2026. Obviously, in no particular order, we have Zambia Sugar, Copperbelt Energy, ZCCM, .com Zambia, Zanaco, Prudential Pensions Management Zambia, Real Estate Investment Zambia, and Clapton Re. Thank you so much for those sponsors who have answered our call, and we look forward to onboarding more sponsors. Please feel free. We are moving into the last segment of our calendar, of our program, apologies. So mark your calendars. My closing remark would be the 2026 Capital Markets Conference and Awards has officially been flagged off. It will be taking place from the 30th of September to the 2nd of October 2026 under the theme Capital Markets 2030, Mobilizing Investment for Economic Transformation and Sustainable Growth. We look forward to welcoming all of you there, but please do not rush off. Breakfast is being served to my left, which would be your right, and this is a great opportunity for you to engage directly with some of our panelists as well as some of the members of the organizing committee. Thank you once again, and enjoy the rest of your morning. And I'll just request that our high table starts off moving towards the breakfast segment, and then